everybody. If you can't just bear with me, I'm just setting up the live stream, making sure that's gonna work. Currently, YouTube is yelling at me because the current bitrate for the stream is lower than the recommended bitrate, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how to increase that through OBS Studio, which is what I use for the streaming. And I'm hoping that I'm not going to disrupt the stream while I'm making changes to these settings. In the meantime, I appreciate everybody tuning in. And I'm going to adjust the audio levels too. Okay, so turn off my phone as well, so we don't get any interruptions. Alright, folks, again, I appreciate everybody tuning in. We're going to be departing here shortly. We're in Alaska, if you recall. This is part 4 of a series where we're traveling up the southern portion of the state and working our way up towards Anchorage. Let's take a look at the flight plan. And just for the time being, I'm going to turn the volume down. Okay, so we are at Skagway, Alaska. If we zoom out here, this is kind of where we are, southern portion of the state. And we're going to be departing from here on runway 20, I believe. This is what we're going to be departing on. Right now the weather is, we got a light rain and a little bit of wind. We got a wind 18 knots. So, and we're getting gusts up to 31 knots. So it is very, very windy. It's 57 degrees. And so it's kind of cold. And again, we have light rain. We have broken clouds at 6,000 feet and overcast at 8,000 feet. We're going to be traveling probably around between 7 and 10,000 feet, maybe a little bit higher. We'll see. We might just go right up to 20. My goal is to try to get some good views of the scenery, so we'll see how that goes. We are the weather that we're seeing at the airport. If we go back to we're inside the cockpit now. I got the door open. You can see it's very windy. It looks cold. And probably in most cases you wouldn't see too many planes departing here today, but we're going to, because why not? And we are in the TBM 850. Anyways, let's go back to the map. So we're going to be departing from Skagway, and we're going to be heading south, or we're going to be maintaining a heading of 20 for about 3 nautical miles until we start heading towards a direction about, let's see, 190 degrees, and we're going to be traveling along that direction for about 84 nautical miles. And along the way, we should be able to see some mountains and some water and that kind of thing. We're going to be flying directly over Davidson Glacier, and right by Glacier Bay National Park. We're going to be hitting waypoint CSPER, C-spur, and then we're going to be bearing a heading of 291 for about 123 nautical miles, from which about 23 miles out, we're going to be hitting our top of descent potential. I think that might not be right. We'll see. But then we're going to be coming into this particular airport, which I'm never going to be probably pronounced right. It's Yakutat or Yakutat, something like that. Anyways, it's PAYA. Something interesting here is I see that they got the runway 11 shut down. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's a shame because it's the one that has the ILS set up on it. So we can't use that runway, but that's all right because I believe we're going to be coming in on runway. Yeah, I thought so. Let's see, is that right? Yeah, 20. So coming in on here on this runway. This is not correct. Given the wind direction, we're actually going to be coming in approaching this way. And I think there's some mountains and stuff there, so we'll have to see how that approach looks when we get there. Anyways, so that's the general plan. It shouldn't take too long, about an hour flight, based on my calculations. Alright, so without wasting much more time, we can take a look outside again around the plane. Again, this is the TBM 850. This is the plane that we've been flying. Hasn't changed. It's still here. No damage. We're just going to pretend that we did a walk around. Alright, so let's set the drone camera down and get into the cockpit and start this thing up. So we're going to close the door. Alright. One thing I should mention is I'm also going to be using the honeycomb, Bravo, and Alpha quadrants, the yoke and the throttle quadrants for this plane. And I'm still getting used to this hardware because I'm not used to it. Believe it or not, I'm used to just using a controller. And I also have the Turtle Beach rudders hooked up to this, which is something I'm also getting used to. It could make for an interesting flight. But let's just check to see that we have control of, or that the control surfaces are free and clear, which they are, and the rudder pedals are moving free, clear, yep. And then the prop lever and the manual override lever and the throttle is good. Alright, so we're going to get this thing started. We need battery. We need power from the battery. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to flip that crash bar up, and we're going to flip the source switch here to the battery position. That gives us power to work with. Now, one thing we could do is we could follow a checklist, which I haven't really done before in this particular plane. But to do that, we would want to turn on the radio master switch. And mind you, currently we are on battery. We don't want to be on battery for too long, else we will drain it. So we do want to make sure we get the engine started with the generator. But if you're interested in using a checklist, you can go to checklist on the flight computer here, and we can select the normal checklist group in pre-flight. And from here, we would basically check to make sure that these are controls are set properly. So, for example, the crash lever is up, which we just did, and we can check that off. Source selector. Currently, the battery is on, so we're going to pretend that that's off. Generator selector is on. Should be on main. There we go. Starter is off. Ignition is currently not on auto or on, so we will set that to auto, or on rather. Actually, no, let's set it to off. We're going to follow the checklist here. Exterior lights, those are all off. Gyro instruments are all off. The emergency lights, we can test those. Those are up here. And we just basically turn these dials and you can see the lights turn on. And they are working. So we're going to turn them off. Circuit breakers down here. They're all in, so we're good. De-icing switches are down here. They should be all off, which they are. Landing gear control is down. Confirmed. AP trim master, that's off. Radio master is currently on, but we'll pretend it's off. We need that on in order to use the Garmin. Bleed air is off over here. Air condition is off. And the dump switch is guarded. This is what this is right here. It is now guarded. RAM air handle is down here, and that is in. Auto fuel selector is on manual currently, so that is up here. Auxiliary boost pump is off. Tank selector, we got that on left or right, which is on currently left. ELT is up here, and that's armed. Parking brake is set, which you can confirm by looking down here. It's on. Manual override lever. We just checked that a second ago. It is down and secure. Power lever is flight idle. Propeller, same thing. That actually needs to be max RPM, which is up here. Condition lever is also cut off. Flap control, those are up. Battery bus power. Here's the voltage. I don't know actually where we would see. We'll just pretend. We do know that the source selector is on battery. The voltmeter is above 25 volts. Exterior light panel. That would be right up here. Actually, no, where is it? Okay, we'll just ignore that. I don't know what the, oh, light. So yeah, up here. And we're going to ignore testing. Actually, no, let's turn them on. We'll turn the strobes on and landing, taxi, as well as we'll set the landing lights to pulse system. And we go outside, and you can see the lights working. Look at the wind. That's going to be a blast of flying right there. Okay, turn those off. We're going to keep the nav lights on, though. Fuel gauges, advisory panel. We're going to test right here. 1, good. 2, good. Let's see. Oxygen annunciation light is off. Interior lights are good. We'll turn those up actually, which is right here. The instrument lights and panel lights should be turned up a little bit. Environmental panel test over here. That's good. Flaps are, those are fine. Won't bother with that. The light test for the gears, right there, good. Test 1, test 2. The pitot heater 1 on. And we should see the annunciation light extinguish, which it does. Same thing for the second one. It also extinguishes, so we're good. Light test for the panel, which is down here. Good. All right. So that's the gist of the checklist, and there we could go through this, and we're gonna we're going to kind of speed through the startup process because I've actually gone through this before kind of in other videos. But I hadn't actually shown anybody the checklists on the Garmin before, so I thought that was pretty neat. Anyways, let's start the engine because we're running down the battery. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the battery source is selected, or the source is selected to battery, generators on main, ignition is on auto. All we have to do now is make sure that the prop level is up to full, which it is, and then we're going to engage the starter after we set the ignition to auto, or on rather. Okay, so the starter's now running, and we want to keep an eye on the NG gauge. That should hit about, when it hits about 13 or 15, we're going to advance the idle to low. Okay, so right about there down here, advance that to low. Keeping an eye on the ITT temperature, and right now it's just fine. Once the NG gets to about 50, then what we're going to do is we're going to turn the starter off, which it is now. So we're going to turn the starter off, set the ignition back to auto position. Okay, so we have the engine, and we're going to set the idle to high. Alright, that's looking good. Now what we're going to do is we need to turn on the gyro instruments. To do that, we need to set gyro 1 to RMI 82 HSI 2. And then from here, we're going to turn, let's see, where is the switch on my panel here? Bear with me. There we go. The switch right up here. This is going to give us our attitude indicator as well as our HSI, which is what this is. If we're going to initialize the GPS on the Garmin Genius 530. And while it's doing that, let's set up our flight plan. It's going to be very basic. We're departing from Skagway, and our destination is going to be PAYA. And in between there, what we're going to do is add CSPER. And then we're also going to just load our approach. And we're going to set that to our nav. No, actually, it's going to be it's going to have to be visual 20. I'm not looking forward to doing that, to be honest with you. You know what? I'm not even going to load that approach. We'll just deal with it when we get there. It's going to be entertaining. In some conditions, it's nice to have the assistance of RNAV or ILS, but we're going to have neither. We're going to do this the old-fashioned way. Alright, I think we're pretty much ready to go. We're going to set our weather radar to standby. We should also configure our rudder trims for takeoff, so we're going to move that over. And we're going to turn on our pitot heater 1 to install a heater. So the temperature outside is currently 57 degrees, but as we gain altitude, it's going to drop significantly. So we're going to bear that in mind. We're going to keep our inertial separator on, and we're also going to eventually engage our windshield heat, our prop de-ice, and airframe de-ice. which is what these black edges are on the aircraft. It kind of deflects ice and gets it off from the aircraft. We're going to be flying at an altitude of about 8,000 feet. We'll make adjustments to that as we go. We'll be taking off on runway 20. We're kind of pointed in that direction, so let's go ahead and set our heading bug to that heading. Currently, we're in V-lock, so once we get in the air, I'll switch that over to GPS mode. And I think, did I already enable the autopilot? I did. So the master's on. We can go ahead and turn on half bank, soft ride, the yaw damper. We will arm the navigation mode and turn on heading mode. Our flight director automatically turned on, which is great. We're going to test, we're going to turn on the terrain inhibitor, and we're going to test that. Okay, I think we're pretty much ready to go, except for we're going to turn our bleed air on to auto, fan flow auto. We'll set our cabin temperature to about 70 degrees. We'll keep that at normal, and also we need to set our pressurization. We're flying at about 8,000 feet max, but honestly we could be going up higher than that, so we'll set it at sea level right now. And I think that should pretty much do it. Oxygen switch. Alright, so let's turn our taxi lights on. And we'll turn the strobe lights on once we get to the hold short point on the runway. So let's take a look outside to see how we're looking. It is extremely windy. I don't know if you can tell, but there's the windsock right ahead of us, and it is outright straight. Okay. So look things over one more time. Oh, we're going to set our auxiliary BP to auto. Fuel selection to auto. We have enough fuel for this trip, so we should be fine there. Alright, now we are good to go. So we're going to disengage the parking brake. We're going to sit up in our seat a little bit so we can taxi where we're taxiing. And we're going to advance the throttle lever. And using the rudder pedals that I have, I'm going to try to taxi the aircraft to the end of the runway here. Now reverse thrust. Brakes. Oh. So this is where I gotta make sure my throttle quadrant is set up properly. Alright, let's stop here just for a second. Okay. And before we get on the runway, I just want to double check everything. So currently we have our taxi lights on. We're going to turn those off and turn our landing lights on, and also we're going to turn our strobe lights. And that should do it. I think we're pretty much good. Oh, the other thing we need to do is we need to calibrate our altimeter. And currently that should be set at 2920. So we'll just hit B and it'll automatically calibrate it for us. And that gives us an accurate reading of our altitude at ground level. Okay, now we are actually good to take off. So, parking brake off. And let's get out onto the runway. Trying to operate the brakes on my rudders is difficult with my desk, so you have to bear with me here. There we go. So we're lined up. Alright, so I'm going to put our flaps in takeoff position. And now we're good to go. Full power. That wind is something. Alright, some back pressure on the yoke, and we're in the air. Alright, landing gear up. Wow. We are getting thrown around a little bit. Okay, we need to gain altitude. I'm going to put the flaps up too. And also engage TBM 850 mode. Adjust the throttle accordingly so we don't over torque the engine. Alright, so something to keep an eye on here. So if you look down here on our radar, the red is bad. That's terrain. That means we're very low. We're going to hit land. Blue is water. Black means we're clear. Green means we're clear. Yellow means we're getting close to some mountain or something like that. So we're going to keep that in mind because we're not going to have a lot of visibility. All right, let's see here. I'm actually going to increase. I forgot to increase the volume here, so let's do that. Okay, hopefully you can hear the plane a little bit there. There we go. Alright, so we're getting a notification that we're over torquing the engine, so we're going to pull back on the throttle and make sure that we don't crash into anything while trying to maintain our flight path. Alright, so far we're doing alright. We got some clearing here. Trying to pay attention to multiple things here. Right now our engine parameters are looking good. We can cut back on the throttle just a little bit. currently we're manually flying. I don't have autopilot on or anything like that. Okay, so we're 1,000 feet away from our target altitude of 8,000 feet. I'm gonna try to get back on course. We've deviated just a little bit. Set the CDI to GPS mode so we can kind of see our course on the HSI. We are getting thrown around. Wow. Okay, so we're a little bit above our target altitude, so we're gonna level off a little bit and evaluate our... Okay, so you can see we have ice forming. You see that? That's not great. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn our de-ice on. I'm going to turn on autopilot and nav mode. And let's set our altitude. We're actually going to set it to 11,000 feet. Okay, we broke through the clouds. So I'm gonna advance our power and gain some speed here so we can make up some ground. See if we could probably increase our target altitude. Let's do 12,000. Check our pressurization parameters. Okay, it looks good. We're at 14. We really picked a great day to fly. Kind of hoping to be able to see some of the scenery, but wow, look at that. We are getting thrown right around. Alright, let's turn our weather radar on. So, on position. Oh yeah, look at that. We are kind of right in the middle of some stuff here. like the HSI indicator, we have a wind indicator, and it shows that we have a wind at headwind at 36 knots, which is just tremendous. Okay, let's see if we can get out of this mess. Let's aim for here. Oh, got a clearing, but let's gain some altitude. What's the temperature outside? So we're at 11 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Oh, look, blue sky. Blue sky on the right, gray on the left. Alright, so we're getting a master warning because the cabin pressure is off by some degree. So what we're going to do, so we're at 20,000, we're going to increase our bleed air to high, and we'll set it to 22. One way we can visualize this issue is if we go into the tablet, we can go to the cabin tab, and we can see that we have a difference of 6.2 psi. Our engine's looking good. It looks like we might be able to, because we're in clear air now, we can disable the inertial separator. So let's do that. It's down here. And the inertial separator is this actuator right here that moves this flap so that air can freely flow to the intake of the engine. The purpose of this is to help mitigate debris flying into the engine by directing debris down to this outlet. But seeing as we're in clear air, we don't have to worry about that. We can disable that and increase our airflow, which increases the engine power. That's a view right there. You know, I'm thinking we can actually start losing some altitude. Let's do that. Let's go down to 12. Actually, no, let's go down to 15. Try to get a closer look at the ground here. We're approximately 36 miles out from our first waypoint. Well, really our only waypoint. We can go back and take a look at the flight plan, see where we are. We're heading towards Sea Spur, 33 roughly miles out. Looks like we're coming up to some weather here. Okay, I think we're gonna hold at about 15,000 feet. Seems to be like seems like a good altitude for now. Okay, we're coming up to our first, or really the only waypoint we have, from which we're going to be bearing right, heading towards PAYA at 293 degrees. Which is going to be roughly, if we move the heading bug, it's going to be right about here. And just like that, we're back with cloud cover. So I kind of want to see, let's go to our flight plan, load procedure, approach. We're going to do visual 20. We're going to load approach. Alright, I kind of see what we're doing now. So we can try to calculate. So it's straight. We'll set this to 2,000 feet for now. What I was doing was our VCalc is our vertical speed for our descent. This utility will help us calculate what vertical speed we, or at what point we need to descend and at what vertical speed. So right now I've got our VS profile set at 500 feet per minute. If our target altitude is 2,000 feet at this waypoint, which is the straight in for the approach, then we need to begin our descent in about 4 minutes. And that's, if we were to start our descent now, we'd want to descend at about 407 feet per minute. Alright, so we're getting notified that we're going to be turning right at 293. So here's, we're gonna start turning right. Alright, I think I'm gonna start losing more altitude here. Actually no, I take that back because I see some stuff ahead of us. Let's see, how far out are we? Yeah, we're 112 nautical miles out. Alright, I'm going to turn this on standby, and we're going to turn on the next rad. Oh my goodness, we are going to be flying into some crap. So maybe we can set up a detour. I'm not seeing anything that could... Larry, maybe we can hit that. That would take us out away from all that, potentially. Alright, so let's do this. I don't really feel like flying through all this. So let's set our heading bug. Set it to, oh, I'm all mixed up here. Keep our altitude the way it is. We'll set our heading bug. We'll head south. We're gonna head southwest, actually, or just west. That is going to, we're basically going to deviate a little bit from our course, but I'm keeping an eye on that right here, and what I'm trying to do is navigate a little bit away from all of this red. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go around and we'll swing back in, get it back on course before we hit the airport. Because frankly, that does not look very fun. A little clearer on the left side. And we're still doing pretty well on fuel. I'm not too worried about that. Let's look at our engine. We don't have too many concerns there. ITT is looking good. It's within acceptable parameter ranges, and NG is looking good. Prop's a little high. Turn that back just a little bit. Torque is alright. If we're lucky, we might be able to see a fishing boat or a crab boat. It's pretty clear down there, so I think what I'm gonna do is we're gonna descend a little bit back down to 8,000 feet. Our outside air temperature is 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Set our cabin pressure. Oh, I forgot. So we still have our landing lights on, but technically we could turn those off. Turn those off. Looks like we're basically going to avoid the storm. Just the heading. Cutting through some cloud coverage here. Cut back on our power just a tad. Got some light rain. So the last Boeing 747 just asked where am I flying to. I'll show you. We are heading to PAYU, also known as Yakutat. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I really don't know if I am or not. We're going to be coming in on runway 20 once we get there. Right now we're kind of navigating around a storm. Appreciate you joining. Okay, I'm going to readjust my course here. Looks like we're out of the woods, so to speak. Alright, currently we're flying at an altitude of about 8,000 feet at roughly 190 knots. We've got a message here. Oh, it's going to be yelling at us because we're off course. Boy, it's going to be interesting once we get into the destination airport here. That's what I'm going to call it because I really don't know how to pronounce it. PAYA. We'll say PAYA. Right now they got some weather there, and we won't have any assistance from ILS or RNAV or anything like that. We could try to tune in to see if we can get an idea what the weather might be like. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our flight plan. We'll click on the airport, waypoint info, frequencies, and we'll just hit ASOS 135.75. So, okay, we'll stop that. So actually, it sounds like we may actually be able to land on runway 02. So we can make an adjustment. I didn't catch what, I think it was the pressure was for the altimeter was 2916, I believe. Yeah, that's correct. So let's go over here to 2916. We'll just make that adjustment now. And then we're going to modify our flight plan, so we're not going to be taking the original approach we thought. What we're going to be doing is RNAV 2. And we're going to be using facade for a transition. And if we look at our, actually no, we're not going to bother with our chart. Let's just set that RNAV to facade and load approach. Okay, so we have a minimum, okay, we also have a hold. We're not going to bother with the hold, we're going to remove that. And if we go to calculate or do our VCalc, we're going to change that to facade, which is above 2,600 feet. And we're probably, honestly, yeah, technically we're, well, actually, let's get back on course. I forgot. Let's do that before we forget. So, let's head back. Let's adjust our heading to intercept our course. So we're going to set our heading bug to heading 330. So far, it looks like we're pretty free and clear of that storm. I am a little concerned when we get into here, but the new flight plan has our approach on runway 02, which is going to allow us to land into PAYA without too many issues with weather. I mean, we do have a band that's like right there, right in our approach, but I think we'll survive. We'll make it work. Alright, let's increase our power. Inertial separator's off, so the question is, should it be? I think it should be. I don't think we have any foreign objects we have to worry too much about. I think we're good. It's interesting, our engine condition's at 93%. I think that's because earlier, during our climb, I was preoccupied with a couple things and didn't realize that our torque exceeded its limits, so that's probably what the issue was, because we're in E50 mode and that tends to happen if you're not careful. But aside from that, everything is looking great. Temperature is in check, ITT temperature is good, energy is good, RPM is good, torque is good. Our fuel is still pretty good, fuel pressure is good. Engine temperature, oil pressure is good. Let's see, what's our outside air temp? It's 25 degrees, still pretty chilly out, below freezing. Looks like we're coming into some moisture. Okay, we're on course to intercept our course. I'm going to arm the nav mode so that when we're in the range, it switches over to nav mode. So we're a few minutes behind schedule. I was expecting this flight to take about an hour, and after pre-flight check and all that, it's taking a little bit longer than anticipated, but that's alright. We had to take a bit of a detour around the storm too, so that contributes to the time. So I think the mountain to our 1 o'clock, I think that's Mount Reburn. I could be wrong. Okay, so we should be intercepting our course any minute now, and that will get us back on track. Alright, so that noise that you hear is basically telling us that our approach hasn't been selected. It's not active, so we're going to activate the approach. Let's see, we are 33 miles out roughly. We want to set our altitude to 28, I believe it was. Maybe it's 23. Hold on, let me check. 26. Split the difference. Our rate of descent. Okay, we're not that far out, so we should be at our destination in about 9 minutes. In which case, eventually here, pretty soon, we're going to be preparing for landing. But this is what our route is going to look like. And so we are going to be going through some weather and cutting into it and trying to land via our nav on runway 02. It will probably make for an interesting landing, because you can see right immediately ahead of us we have weather. Can't beat the views, I'll tell you. To see something like this in real life, one truly has to be blessed. And I can't even imagine what, you know, everybody's talking about Flight Simulator 2024 and how that's going to be a huge upgrade, and it certainly is going to be a huge upgrade. I have no doubt about that. I cannot imagine how that is going to look compared to this, because I mean this is pretty spectacular. I mean, I can't really complain about how well Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 renders the world. Alright, so we're still descending at a rate about 1,000 feet per minute. We're at 4,000 feet. We're trying to hit a target of 2,600 feet. We're 13 miles out, nautical miles rather. We're about 5 minutes 55 seconds out from our destination. I'm gonna check the report, weather report. Oh goodness. Honestly, we should probably hitting the other runway. But you know what? I'm gonna commit to it. We'll see how it goes. It's probably not gonna go very well. I mean, we're looking at a... Oh yeah, probably not. You know, let's see. Let's see. I think we might actually have to readjust our approach here. The wind has switched like twice so far. I've been keeping an eye on the weather, and originally we were set to land on runway 20, but that was a visual approach. And I checked again, and we were good to land on the other runway on the other end. So I don't know. Maybe I should just stick with this. See what happens. Normally you want to land, like almost always you want to land into the wind. If we have to, if it's bad enough, then what we'll do, we'll just do we'll do a go around. If anything, it could make for an entertaining video. Okay, we're going to set the approach mode. We're going to reduce our throttle. We can't see anything right now. And let's see, put the gear down. flaps. Oh, we should turn the landing lights on. And hopefully we end up seeing the runway here pretty soon. We're going to put more flaps down. Isn't this fun? Can't see the runway, can't see anything for that matter. We are really just relying on our instruments at this point. I'm going to turn weather radar on, turn the next rod off so we can see our terrain indicator on the GPS, make sure we're not going to hit any mountains. You can still see the weather on the weather radar. Well, we're at about 860 feet. I don't see the runway yet. Oh, I do. I see it now. Okay. I see it now. This is going to be challenging because the wind is behind us. This is not something you normally would do. If I was smart, I'd probably just do a go around and get lined up. But we'll see. Flying around with the throttle a little bit. Alright, we're going to take her off autopilot and bring her down manually. Oh my goodness, this is fun. Oh boy. As long as we set it down nice and gentle, I'll be happy. Oh, this is going to be great. Perfect. Wow, for a second I didn't think that was going to go well. Alright, so now we need to get parked here. And I believe we just want to go straight. There we go. I think this is where we want to turn, is right in here. Yep. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to turn right in there. Yep. And we'll find a parking spot. I have no idea where the general aviation is. Oh, I bet it's up here where those people are. Yep. Look at that, they're waiting for us. Okay, so we're gonna get lined up right here. She's telling me to go to the left. I gotta go up just a little bit more. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna set the parking brake. Alright, so the shutdown procedure is pretty straightforward. The simplified version is we're gonna set the prop lever down to feather and half idle, and we're gonna let the ITT temperature come down a bit, let that cool down. So basically let that sit for a couple of minutes. We can, in the meantime, turn all the systems off. Let's see here, we can turn AP master off. Let's see what else. We can turn the landing lights off. Strobe light, pulse system off. The gyros we can turn off. And ignition we can turn that off. And then once we wait a couple minutes, we can then turn the engine off by pulling the cutoff lever down to the cutoff position. And then, so we can turn radio master off, and we just basically switch this crash lever down, and that turns the battery and everything. So, then we can open the door. There we go. Let's see if I can get it. Alright, let's get a better view here. Alright folks, well I appreciate you tagging along for this flight. That was interesting landing. I didn't think it was going to go that well, to be honest with you. But we made it, so. Anyways, again, thank everybody for joining the live stream, and we'll do this again. There's one more leg I think we're going to do from here to Anchorage, and it should be a good time. Hopefully the weather is a little bit more cooperative. Anyways, yeah, if you like this video, please take a minute to subscribe and follow, as I'm trying to put out more content. So if this is your thing, if you like this kind of thing, please give it a like and a follow. In the meantime, you all take care and have yourself a great rest of your evening.